It's the Scotty Myers Show.
Hey, welcome to this week's edition of the show. I'm your host, Scotty Myers, back at home. Finally, back at home. It was a month on the road and crazy, just a amount of time living in hotels. Just very weird. And especially now, it's not the easiest to go get food and stuff like that. So parts of it, very, very difficult. But I am back. Good to be back home. And don't forget, check out our new website, ScottyMyersMedia.com. That is the place to go for everything. We're actually building a little archive, throwing up some old episodes that should be launching soon. I'll let you know when that's up and live. But yeah, ScottyMyersMedia.com is the place to go for the podcast, any videos we do. When we can go to see movies again, we'll do movie reviews again, all that kind of good stuff. So part of my returning was I had to get a COVID test done. And I had no worries about it. I've seen pictures of what they do for the test. And so I went and I had a test done. And the pictures, they don't do it justice. I'm just going to say that. And the girl lied. I get what she was trying to do, but she said to me, she goes, "You ever jump in a pool of chlorine and you get that stinging in your nose? That's exactly what this is going to feel like." Didn't feel like that at all. I've had that feeling. As soon as you kind of pop up and, do the little squeeze your nose thing, your nose feels normal again. This one, she took, if you're not familiar with the test, they take a cotton swab and they go right up your nose. And I'm fairly certain they scrape the base of your brain because she went in there quite a bit. It was almost like a disappearing cotton swab trick. Like, let's see how far up his nose we can actually go. And then once they're in there, they swirl it around like you're stirring coffee and creamer. We got to mix this up right. So they swirl it around. You could feel this the whole time. And it is a burning sensation. Again, nothing like chlorine in a pool, but a burning sensation nonetheless. And then they pull it out and that's it. It doesn't last very long. And I don't want to say it's painful because it's not painful, but it is uncomfortable. And I now have a rough idea of what being probed, I think, would be like, except through the nose, not the typical alien probe. But still, and then thankfully, results came back very, very quickly, and I'm clean as a whistle, especially the nasal cavity that she cleaned out. But no, came back negative, which is what you want. So that was good. Kind of made my family members a little bit more at ease, which is really why I did it, but also just for my own knowledge. And I almost think when we go forward, I almost think that might become the normal, in all honesty. Once we get to the point where we open up travel, it's going to be hard to keep telling people to isolate for 14 days, especially as businesses continue to open and people are going back to work. So we may get to a point where if you return from somewhere, you may just have to get tested and then isolate until you get your results in a day or two. And that might be a bit more manageable if we get to that point. It just kind of crossed my mind as I was getting it done, going like, this might be a better way. And again, maybe not. I don't know all the ins and outs of testing and medicine, but the thought crossed my mind and I could see that becoming the new normal. I can almost see it, us getting to the point of you might have to show your papers, as it were. Like, here's my papers that say I'm clean. Some places, it's weird. Even coming home, we've done where I live very well at flattening and getting the number of cases down. But even when I am here and, popping out to get my test and I see people going in stores as I'm driving by and no masks or anything like that. And I don't understand how the mask thing became if you wear one, you're weak or something like that. Let's just get over that. Throw the masks on and let's just be a little bit safer. But on to other news. Enough of the COVID, although everything we talk about is somewhat COVID related when it comes to other happenings in the world, because it's dominating the headlines. But some good news. Last week I was talking about sports trying to come back, and it looked like baseball was really fucking it up and couldn't reach a deal. They have finally reached a deal. So we're going to get some baseball. They're going to have a special injured list for people that test positive for COVID. They're going to test players every other day. And training camps are going to open July 1st. We're going to get a 60-game season, so very condensed. And it's going to kick off over the July 23rd and 24th. DH rule in both parks, or both leagues, American League and National League. So that'll be interesting to see. And as of right now, no fans in the stands, which is, I still think, bizarre to watch. There was that team, I think in Europe or something somewhere, that put sex dolls in the audience. I would prefer that. And the good thing is they always look surprised. So they think like a great play just happened because they're always in shock and awe. So I'm all for sex dolls replacing fans if need be. But just I'm happy to see baseball coming back. Great news there. And then the other thing that I think a lot of people, especially this year, were really looking forward to, and we've been robbed of it, was concerts. This summer was lining up to potentially be the greatest summer in the history of concerts. You know, Black Crowes reunion tour, Motley Crue back on the road, like Faith No More was touring. Like, as far as rock concerts go, you couldn't have painted a better summer. Really, maybe with the exception of getting Van Halen back out on the road if you could, but it was an amazing summer, and then it's gone. A lot of those shows have been pushed to next year, so now 2021 becomes the summer that we all have to mortgage our homes to see every concert under the sun. But the music industry, they want concerts back in a big way. Concerts are how most musicians make money now, so the musicians themselves are hurting right now. And then B, for the record industry and the music industry, that's how they sell albums primarily now is, somebody goes, sees a band live, digs their music, and then they download all their songs on the way home or go buy vinyl or however you ingest your music. But live music can be a massive influence on what you listen to and what you buy. So they're trying to figure out a way to do it. Now, of course, obviously they've talked about masks. It's going to be a big part of, I think, everything going forward. They've talked about getting your temperature checked when you enter an arena. I had to do that going on a flight. It's weird. It's almost like they're trying to read your thoughts. They put this little, gun-looking thing at your head, and they're staring at it like, it feels like somebody's trying to read your mind. That's fine. But then the music, I don't know where they came up with this. Apparently, according to a newspaper in Britain, they want to have a disinfectant spray, almost like a mist that they would spray you with, and then you go into the concert venue. So think of all the things now you're going to have to do to go to a concert. Mask, temperature check, and then walk through a cloudy mist of unknown chemical substances. Which for some people, they're coming out of a car full of a cloudy mist of unknown chemical substances. So it might not be that big a deal. But I don't know. That seems like very odd to me. It's like I'm going to see a rock concert, not performing an alien autopsy. I don't need to be disinfected from top to bottom. All my nooks and crannies don't need mist shot up in them. I'm relatively clean down there. Thank you. So I sit here and I say it seems like a bridge too far maybe for me on paper, but if it was a show I really wanted to go to, I would probably do it. I think I'm just that longing for the normalcy of everything that I would go through the unnormal to feel normal for a second. But when I think about it too, masks at a concert, I'm all for it. But man, there is going to be an unintended drawback. Every jackass that tries to sing along with the band is now going to scream even louder. And they're all going to sound muffled, which is going to sound even worse, than just the guy next to you drunk and not being able to hold a note. Now he's going to be drunk, not being able to hold a note, trying to project his voice through cloth. It's going to be a freaking nightmare. I think, honestly, if we want to just make everybody 100% immune to everything, when you're going to the concert, especially like if you're going to like a rock concert for like an old band, like if you're going for like the Motley Crues or anything, just go back and spend 20 minutes on the tour bus with the band. They've survived everything, so you'll just pick it up from them, the immunity, and you'll be good. You know, a disinfecting mist at the start of the show, kind of the opposite of the mist that, say, like a Tommy Lee would let loose. Yeah. Anyway, so that's that. On to the off story of the week. We're steamrolling towards the geek news here because there is a shit ton of it. Off story of the week also touches on the geek and touches a little bit of my life a bit here. A man is divorcing his wife because she gave him an ultimatum: me or the Funko Pop vinyl figures. And I know you're probably sitting there going like, this is bullshit. Well, it comes from Reddit, and the guy starts off going, listen, this sounds made up, but I swear to God, I am being serious. And he goes into detail about how he's been collecting Funkos for years. It started out as a small little collection, then it became an obsession. He met his now wife after he started his Funko collection, which I think is a key point here. And he kept collecting during their entire courtship and into marriage. And then at some point, she kind of snapped and said, that's it. It's the Funkos or me. And he's, been married for 2 years. She was sobbing. And he's like, well, I just told her that I'm not going to let go of my passion, which is not her. It's the tiny plastic figures. According to his post, he spends about $500 a month on them. Now, I don't know how you could do that. Like, they're cute. Listen, I love them. And I've said before, they make me smile and I don't know why. That's how I feel about the Funkos. And I have a decent collection. It's nothing massive. I'm definitely not spending $500 a month on them. But I also only buy ones that I'm interested in. You know, I wouldn't just buy any Funko. It's got to be a character that I like, or, you know, something from a movie that I like. So I couldn't just buy any one. But I don't know that I would, like, if my wife came in here, and she's not a fan of the Funkos, you know, she thinks they're silly, which is fine. Because you know what? They are. I love them to death, but I have a hard time defending them because they are silly. Very, very silly. But again, they make me smile. I don't know why. But if my wife came in and said, it's the Funkos or me, it wouldn't even be a question. Like, it'd be like, okay, well, then I guess I won't get Funkos anymore. I'd be bummed about not getting any more Funkos, but I definitely would not throw away, you know, the love of my life for plastic little figures. I mean, I'm looking at them right now, and they're cute, and now that I say that, they look sad, so I don't know, maybe I'd defend you, Funkos. I wouldn't give up without a fight. How's that? But honestly, you know, listen, I'm as much of a geek as the next guy, and I love me some Funkos, but if you're giving up a living, breathing, lovely woman over plastic figures, offs. Before we get into the geek news of the week, we had some sad news from Hollywood this week, and it's news that touches the geek world, but a really, really great filmmaker passed away at the age of 80. Joel Schumacher, who, as soon as you say his name, you start to think of Batman and Robin and nipples on the batsuit. Unfortunately, that became somewhat of his legacy. But when you look at his film career, I mean, it's fantastic. From A Time to Kill to The Client to Falling Down. He made a really good cult classic Nicolas Cage movie called 8mm. He did Flatliners. The guy did a fantastic number of films that were really, really well done. And he made 2 Batman movies. And honestly, here's the thing. I'm going to defend Batman Forever a little bit. Was it perfect? No. But was it bad? No, I can go back and watch Batman Forever. And it wasn't the direction that sticks out to me in Batman Forever. And I mean, maybe he can take some blame for this, but like really to me, it's more the performances in Batman Forever. And really the one that really sticks out to me is Tommy Lee Jones. He is just chewing scenery as Two-Face. Like, I think he's having fun with it, and he's definitely taking the character in zany ways, but you know, in my mind, that's not Two-Face. But I don't know that I can blame that all on Joel Schumacher. And the guy just really an incredible filmmaker. And, you know, doesn't deserve to just be remembered for Batman and Robin. I think if you went back and watched Batman Forever now, you'd be like, not quite as good as the Burton ones, but not terrible. Not Batman and Robin bad, which, yes, he admits it bad, and he even apologized for it. He apologized to every fan that was disappointed. And that. So he kind of felt the mistake that he made, but he was a visionary. Made some amazing films. If you've never seen Falling Down with Michael Douglas, you need to check that out. And of course, he did The Lost Boys as well, which is a great movie. So Hollywood definitely lost a very, very talented director in Joel Schumacher. Again, he was 80 years old. He passed away after a battle with cancer. Rest in peace, Joel. On to the geek news of the week. And as I said, there is a ton of it. And we're going to get into a lot of it. A lot of the big news comes from the world of DC. They are making a lot of massive announcements recently. We will start with Marvel. Not a whole lot going on right now in the Marvel world. It's been kind of quiet. The biggest news we got right now is the Avengers game, which is due to hit stores September 3rd, so actually not that far away. They released a new trailer for it, and it gave us the big bad, the main villain of the Marvel game. Now, if you don't want it to be spoiled, I don't know why you would care, really. It's not MODOK is going to be your main villain in this Avengers game, and the gameplay looks okay. Looks okay. Fans online are not blown away by it, but some of the suits look cool. Hopefully the gameplay is tight, and it would be an Avengers journey worth taking. That's for sure. Sticking with video games, there's a lot of video game news this week. EA has unveiled their next Star Wars game. It's called Star Wars Squadrons, and it is a game that is going to let you fly damn near every ship. In all honesty, when you're on the Rebel side, you're going to be flying A-Wings, X-Wings, Y-Wings, and when you switch over to the Empire, you're going to be flying obviously TIE fighters, but TIE interceptors and TIE bombers. There will be a single-player campaign, which is huge. And the thing with the EA games is they're canon. They're considered part of the official Star Wars story. So if you're trying to keep up on everything happening in the galaxy far, far away, you kind of have to play these games. So the trailers for Squadrons looks amazing. Like, I think we're at the point with this gen of systems where we are pushing the hardware. Because Squadrons looks, when I first saw the trailer, I went, oh, this is next gen. And it's still coming out for current systems. So Squadrons looks phenomenal. If it plays half as good as it looks, it's going to be an instant classic. And that's going to be hitting stores on October 2nd. We'll stick with Star Wars news as we got a little bit of Mark Hamill news recently. We found out that Mark Hamill did a voice cameo in season 1 of The Mandalorian. He was the droid bartender EV-99. And then it came out that's not the only voice work he has done for Star Wars. That Mark Hamill has been in every Star Wars movie with the exception of the prequels. Mark lent his voice to Rogue One and Solo as well, which is great. I have a feeling it's probably not the last time he's going to lend his voice to something in Star Wars. I could see him popping up in Mandalorian Season 2 and anything else they can think of to squeeze Mark Hamill in. It's just... call me crazy. It makes everything feel more authentic knowing that Mark Hamill has a small part involved, somewhere in there. But yeah, it's great to see that he's willing to kind of stay in the Star Wars universe without having to be Luke Skywalker all the time, because he's honestly one of the best voice actors on the planet. So I like that they found that role for Mark. And we'll start to get into some of this DC news now. We'll start with the video games. So DC has their big event coming up, virtual event, at the end of August called DC Fandom, where we're going to be able to explore every corner of the DC multiverse. That's how they're billing it. What really looks like is going to happen is we are going to get a shit ton of announcements, and a lot of them seem really fucking cool. Starting with video games. The guys that brought us the fantastic Batman Arkham series, they've registered not one, but 2 domain names for video games. One is the long-rumored and pretty much all but confirmed next Batman game, which that one, it seems like we're not only going to get that announced officially, but we're going to probably see some gameplay, maybe even get the release date, all that kind of good stuff, which is great. But apparently that team has also been working on a Suicide Squad game. They registered the domain name Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. There we go. So that could be the game. You could take over the Suicide Squad and maybe have to take out the JL, or maybe you can play as the Justice League and fend off the Suicide Squad. Either way, it sounds like it would be very, very fun. And in the capable hands of Rocksteady, I think the game will be fantastic. So we should get both of those announcements at Fandom. The other announcements that are coming in for DC center around their movie universe. Now, first off, one of the producers of the Flash movie was answering some questions on social media, and somebody asked if Cyborg was still going to pop up in the Flash film, and they all but confirmed it. Said, yeah, of course. You have to take everything on the internet with a grain of salt, but I have a feeling we're going to see Ray Fisher back as Cyborg in the Flash movie, which is great. Speaking of the Flash movie, another rumor popped up that Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who had a brief cameo in Batman v Superman as Thomas Wayne, is going to be in the Flash movie as Batman, Thomas Wayne's version of Batman, because it looks like the Flash movie is going to be doing some sort of loose adaptation on Flashpoint. Now, if you're not familiar with Flashpoint, basically Flash goes back in time, saves his mother, which then screws everything else up. And one of the things that screws up is Bruce Wayne is the one that's actually shot in the alley, not his parents. And his parents, Thomas, takes up the mantle of the Bat. And there's other things to it. I won't spoil it. Flashpoint's a great comic book that you should read. And I don't want to spoil it too much. I don't know how much they're going to take and put in the movie. But Jeffrey Dean Morgan as a badass Flashpoint version of Batman would be sweet. And I think we've all wanted it since we saw him as Thomas Wayne in the Batman v Superman movie. So that could be kind of a fan dream coming true. But he may not be the only Batman in the Flashpoint movie. I never thought I would get to say this, but it looks like one of, if not the most popular Batman of all time, could be returning to don the cowl once again. Rumor is that Michael Keaton is in deep, deep talks with Warner Brothers to return as Batman in the Flash movie, and not just show up in the Flash movie, but kind of have a figure in the DC extended universe, whatever you want to call their movie universe, going forward. So we would see him pop up in Flash and Flashpoint, and then he would, the way the rumors have it, he would almost act as a Nick Fury figure for the rest of the DCEU characters whenever they team up again or need some of that kind of guidance, which an older Batman would be great at providing. I never thought we'd see the day when Michael Keaton came back to be the Dark Knight. And this opens a lot of doors. I mean, you think about it, Michael Keaton is almost 70 years old. He looks great. And he was fantastic in Spider-Man when he played Vulture. He was fantastic. So if you're asking me if I think he could put on the cape and cowl and be Batman now, yeah, I think he could. But it could also lead us down the Batman Beyond road, where we get Michael Keaton as the older Bruce Wayne, finding Terry McGinnis, maybe finds him in the Flashpoint story, and then starts Batman Beyond, which would be phenomenal. It looks like DC at some point with their movies and discussions just went, you know what? DC Comics are famous for the multiverse and having different versions of characters all coinciding at the same time. Why don't we try to do that in films? And so it seems like they're just going multiverse crazy. Now, they've done it on TV with the Arrowverse. That has embraced the multiverse theory exceptionally well. So if they're going to do it in the movies, why not get Michael Keaton back as Batman? To me, this is just, it's mind-blowing. Rumor is we may get an announcement on this at that DC fandom event, which would be very, very cool. But this is like my boyhood dream coming true. Michael Keaton returning to the role of Batman. And speaking of returning to roles, now this one I am telling you with a giant grain of salt, because I just have a hard time buying it. It seems too outlandish to me. But a report is out there that Warner Brothers is in talks with Ryan Reynolds to return as Hal Jordan and Green Lantern. And not for his own movie, that he's going to return as Hal Jordan, Green Lantern for the Snyder Cut of Justice League. Now, as cool as this sounds, and listen, I'm one of the people that defends the Green Lantern movie. I actually didn't think it was terrible. It definitely, as a fan of Green Lantern, it definitely had some shortcomings, but there was a lot of good things in that movie too. Ryan Reynolds' portrayal of Hal Jordan and the character arc he went through, learning the responsibility, not bad. Mark Strong as Sinestro was perfect. Like, you couldn't get much better than that. Kilowog was great. There was a lot of good in that movie. So it's almost like, why throw out the baby with the bathwater if we can get Ryan Reynolds to come back and be Green Lantern? And throwing him in the Snyder Cut is great, because then you're suddenly sucking that movie into the DCEU continuity. The thing is why I'm very skeptical about this. One, Ryan Reynolds has done nothing but shit on the Green Lantern movie pretty much since it came out. I mean, he made 2 Deadpool movies, and in both of them, he had to take shots at Green Lantern. So that kind of sticks out to me a little bit. Also, I know they're spending money on the Snyder Cut, and they said they really just had some effects to finish up. They didn't really talk about shooting new sequences. And to me, bringing in Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern requires shooting new sequences, obviously. And who's Green Lantern interacting with? So does that mean we have to bring in Gal Gadot or Henry Cavill or Ben Affleck? Does he come back as Batman to shoot a scene with Green Lantern? It makes a lot of questions, and it makes me think they have like a year to get this done. Not even. You know, we know Snyder's version of the Justice League is going to hit HBO Max in 2021. So Green Lantern, whether they use the silly suit they used in that movie, which hopefully if this is true they change, or not, Green Lantern just by his power set requires a lot of effects, which would take time. So I'm not sure how that would work with the timeline that we have on getting the Snyder Cut. Do I want to see it happen? Yes. Do I think this one is very far-fetched? Yeah, I do. But I also think there's a possibility. Reynolds is hot. It brings more attention to the Snyder Cut. And, you know, Disney hasn't exactly been 100% committal on Deadpool's future and what he's going to look like in the ongoing world of Disney owning Marvel. So maybe this is just a great way for Ryan Reynolds to attach himself to a really hot project in a cool way. Like I said, I'd love to see it happen. I'll believe it when they announce it. Maybe this will also be announced at DC Fandom, which we can all attend, thankfully. That's the one nice thing about these virtual events. So that will do it for this week. Pretty crazy big geek news. Would love to hear your thoughts. What do you think of potentially Ryan Reynolds coming back to be Green Lantern? What do you think of Michael Keaton coming back to be Batman? Let me know. The Scotty Mars Show on Facebook. Also the Scotty Mars Show on Instagram, at Scotty Mars on Twitter. And don't forget to visit our website, scottymarsmedia.com. And until we chat again, have a great week.